Life after death. The day reality stuttered. Spare parts, my father whispered, the words rubbing together like two wires about to spark. Pieces of me aren't mine anymore. I can't feel where I end, or where something else begins. Then a click, like teeth closing on a wire, and the line flattened to a breathless electric hush. I didn't speak. I didn't even swallow. You know how when sound drops out, your body suddenly notices everything else? The fan nudging stale air across my desk. The dog 2 houses over huffing in his sleep. The refrigerator popping in the kitchen like a faraway knuckle crack. I stood there with my headset on, watching the little green circle on my screen pulse, as if his silence had weight. "Dad," I said, too loud. The word bounced off the walls of my room and came back thin. The green circle brightened once, then steadied. He started. Then the audio folded in on itself, 1 syllable becoming 3, each a fraction later than the last, as if there were copies of his voice trying to catch the original. Dad, you're cutting out. Can you... The call died. Just like that. No error message, no disconnect tone. The window stayed open, quiet and clean, like a stage after the curtain drops. OBITUAREX at the top in its plain, hospital green letters. A cursor blinking in the chat like a heartbeat that had decided to be polite about stopping. And then, without any cue or transition, like someone bumping the radio dial mid-sentence, my head filled with the memory of asphalt. I'm back in our driveway. 16 years old, summer heat sticking the shadow of the basketball hoop to the concrete. Dad is leaning against the dented fender of his old truck, arms crossed, watching me shoot. He's not coaching, not even talking, just there. The kind of presence you only understand later. When I miss, he doesn't flinch. When I make it, he smiles with his mouth closed, like the joy is private. He had that kind of quiet, one that held your mess without ever announcing it was doing you a favor. That was Daniel Avery. That was my dad. The scene lingers, rubber on pavement, the chalk line I drew myself, his key ring glinting when he shifts. And then I'm back at my desk, palms damp, headset crooked across one ear. The hard jump from then to now makes me dizzy, like I blinked during a lane change at night. I wish I could tell you I closed the laptop and called someone. I didn't. I didn't move at all. I just stared at the place where his last words hung in my head. Spare parts. If you're wondering why I was on OBITUAREX in the first place, I'd love to give you a noble reason. I don't have one. I had a few bad weeks that turned into worse months. Sleep that stopped doing its job, a job that stopped feeling like mine, a kitchen that stayed clean because no one cooked. I'd sit at night with the lights off, scrolling through the kind of places they warn you about in tech blogs and crime podcasts, convinced I was only looking. That's the lie you tell to make curiosity sound safe. I'm just looking. The deep web, for what it's worth, didn't look like the movies. No neon skulls, no cartoon hackers, mostly dead ends and talk. Lists of lists. A directory that led to another directory that led to a page with a handful of usernames, worried about encryption protocols from 5 years ago. It was boring, almost soothing. Then, sometimes it wasn't. I found OBITUAREX because I misclicked. That's the truth. I meant to back out of a thread about breached municipal email servers, and instead I opened a new tab to a plain white page with nothing but a search bar and a banner. OBITUAREX. The font looked like what a hospital would choose if it wanted to be comforting and failed. Under the banner, find them, speak. under that. If you don't mean it, don't type it. I thought it was a genealogy thing, or a grief form, trying to be clever. Then I scrolled. Every thread title was a name with 2 dates and a cause. A small city made of other people's endings. Looking for Lucia Ramos in 1958 to 2019. Heart failure. Looking for Owen Bird, 1975 to 2007. Accident. Looking for James Stone, 1926 to 1994. Pancreatic cancer. Click anyone and you'd see a handful of comments. The first would be the poster, "Is anyone here? I just want to ask one thing." Or, "I don't know what I'm doing. Please." And then sometimes a reply from someone with no profile picture, no history, only 1 or 2 words that knocked the air out of their sentences. Loose? Dad? Jem? It should have read like role play. It didn't. What made it wrong wasn't what was said. It was what wasn't. These weren't grand cosmic answers or cheesy heaven updates. They were fragments, domestic and small and unbearably accurate. A joke about a burned casserole no one else would know. A nickname that never made it to the outside world. The thread would flare for a minute or two. Messages traded fast, punctuation falling away, and then it would stop with a bluntness that looked almost physical. I tell myself I read for an hour before I posted. It was probably less. Grief has no clock. It's either stuck or sprinting. The thing about my dad is, people trusted him before they knew him. He was the guy who'd turn on your porch light for you when you were late, getting home, and leave a spare bulb on your steps because he noticed yours flickered. He was the guy who could make the neighbor's angry dog lie down just by standing beside it. He once changed a flat for a woman who cried the whole time, and never asked why she was crying. The night he died, cardiac arrest, kitchen tile, the fruit knife still on the cutting board next to an unpeeled orange. Half the neighborhood showed up on our lawn with Tupperware, like food could fix the gravity. We buried him under a sky that couldn't commit to rain. I said things at the service that were true, and none of them helped. Afterward, I realized I didn't know where any of his tools went. It's stupid, but that's what made me cry in a way that felt new. All that useful weight, gone from our shelves. A shadow where the hammer used to hang. I avoided cemeteries. I avoided the box of letters in the hall closet. I kept his truck after I got my license, then sold it because the bench seat smelled like him, and that felt like cheating. When people said, "He's watching over you," I smiled and let them. If you'd asked me 6 months ago what I believed about death, I would have told you I didn't think about it much. That was the best I could do without lying. So there I was, 2 in the morning, the house sealed in its own dark OBITUAREX open. My cursor hovering over new thread. The instruction under the search bar flashed in my head again. If you don't mean it, don't type it. I meant it. That was the problem. When your wand is clean, you're already halfway gone. I typed, "Looking for Daniel Avery, 1969 to 2010, cardiac arrest." Then I waited with the kind of stillness that feels superstitious. The page didn't refresh, no spinning wheel. Just my own name and my father's together in the same line, like I'd invited them to dinner. Maybe it's important to say, I didn't expect an answer. Not really. I expected a bored troll with a voice modulator. I expected silence. I expected to sit there for 15 minutes, get embarrassed about being the kind of person who tries things like this, and close the tab with a private promise to stop doing this to myself. 30 seconds passed, then 40. The cursor blinked, steady as a pulse. I could hear the fan. Somewhere, a car door thumped shut. I got as far as moving the mouse toward the X. A message appeared. Evan, 4 letters and a question mark. The way he used to say my name when I walked into a room and he wanted to see if I was okay without making me say I wasn't. A second bubble popped up. Voice request. I wish I could tell you I thought it through. That I remembered every story about scams and voice cloning and grief hackers and all the ways you can be tricked into hurting yourself. I wish I could tell you I sat on my hands, took a breath, made tea, texted a friend, anything that looked like care. I clicked accept. There was a soft hum like a refrigerator waking up. A hush. Then the breathing. Not dramatic, not ghostly, just human, close to a microphone. Evan, he said, if this were video, this is where the camera would push in. But this isn't video. This is a voice in your ear that you have known your entire life, arriving in your room through a cheap headset in the middle of a Tuesday night. Dad? I said, and my throat caught on the one syllable that mattered. He made a sound, part laugh, part relief, part something heavier, like being allowed to sit down after a long time standing. It's really you, he said. I wasn't sure. I didn't know if... He trailed off the way he always did when he had feelings he didn't have a word for. There are 1,000 tests you think you're going to use in a moment like that. Secret questions, birthdays, the one line from the one song he used to sing in the truck. I forgot them all. How is this possible? I asked, and it felt dumb as soon as I said it. Like asking why it happened. He chuckled softly. I don't know how long I have. I just wanted to tell you. I love you. I'm sorry I left so fast. I should have gotten my heart checked. I felt fine right up to the moment I didn't. It's not your fault, I said. But how do I know it's really you? He didn't hesitate. You were 3, he said, already smiling in the way you can hear. You tried to make dinner for your mom and me. You didn't understand pots yet, so you threw the vegetables straight on the burner. The house smelled like burned carrots for a week. You made me swear never to tell anybody. I said I'd only tell it at your wedding. I put my hand over my mouth and pressed hard, like that could keep my face from shaking. I told you not to tell, I said, and started laughing in a way that was mostly sobbing. Sorry, kiddo. Statute of limitations. We talked like that for a minute. 3, maybe. Language loosening around things we both knew by heart. It felt like a porch light turning on from far away. The kind of warmth that makes you remember how cold you've been without admitting it. If I were smarter, I would have let it be. This is the part of the story where I wish I could say, I thanked him and said good night, and then carried that ordinary miracle in my pocket for the rest of my life, worn and smooth from rubbing. But the question was there. It had been there since I typed his name. Not a grand theological question, not even a fair one. Just the one the human mouth asks when it's close enough to the edge to smell the drop. Where are you? I asked. The breath on the line stopped. Not faded, not walked away. Stopped. A full pause in a living thing. Dad, I said, are you still... Evan, he said quickly, low. Please don't. Don't what? They don't like it when you ask that. The way he said they pulled the hair along my arms awake. I can't... The line gave a small rubbery sound, like chewing gum being pulled off a shoe. I just need to know what comes after, I said, because once you say it out loud, the hole opens, and asking feels like falling. Please. Silence. Then from a long way off, I'm sorry. I leaned forward until the headset pinched my ear. Sorry about what? For this, he said. A soft, low crackle crept into the audio, like someone stirring a pot of static. When he spoke again, his voice came through strained. Heaven! Hell! It's not... The word blurred, doubled, then tripled. It's not real. What is it then? This place. It's not what I thought. We're just... He inhaled, a shaky, old man breath my father never had when he was alive. Spare parts. The phrase landed the way a tool does when it slips from a bench, harder than you expect, and on the softest place it could hit. Dad, I don't... Pieces of me aren't mine anymore, he said, quieter now, like putting words together costs something. I can't feel where I end, or where something else begins. Where are you? I whispered. Because pain makes you repeat yourself. The audio trembled, like something pressing a thumb on the needle. Don't. The call glitched, his last syllable splitting into delayed echoes. Same word, 3 versions, staggered like a hallway of mirrors. Don't. And then nothing. No drop tone. No error. Just the green circle pulsing like a heartbeat that had nowhere left to go. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. OBITUAREX looked back at me, indifferent. Above the empty chat window, a gray line of text. Connection stable. It felt like a joke. I didn't move for a long time. Not because I was afraid, fear would have been honest. It was something closer to being hollowed out. Like my body had been used to carry something heavy for someone else, and only just realized it was empty. When I finally found my hands, I typed, "Are you there?" The page didn't answer. A small bullet point appeared next to my message, then another, like the site was thinking how to hurt me politely. Then the thread refreshed on its own, and all of it was gone. The chat, his lines, even the word spare, like a mouth wiping itself clean. OBITUAREX's search bar waited at the top, still hospital green, still soft. Under it, the same warning. If you don't mean it, don't type it. I meant it. That was the problem. Morning didn't care what happened. Same room, same desk, same headset, draped like a sleeping animal. For 30 seconds, I let myself believe it was a dream. Then the line came back to me. Spare parts, and the way his voice broke on the word mine. I chose the boring answer on purpose. Deep fake, grief scam, voice model. People can be cruel and clever. I'm not special. I made coffee and recited that logic until it sounded almost true. Then I opened the laptop. OBITUAREX looked exactly the same. The clinical green banner, the clean search bar, the soft command, find them, speak. Under it, the warning I'd ignored. If you don't mean it, don't type it. I searched Daniel Avery. No results found. I tried Daniel, Dan, just Avery. 100 wrong men, none of him. I pulled my thread from browser history. 404. It felt like being told a story you lived never happened. I told myself to walk away. I checked my mic settings, logs, downloads, performing competence at a problem nobody could see. By noon, I'd proved nothing except that I wanted comfort. The first glitch arrived small, a soft fizz from muted speakers, then a low room hum that wasn't the computer. I followed it like a person hunting a draft, kitchen fine, hallway fine, until it thickened beside the bookshelf, then thinned the second I listened for it. I called it the AC and let the label do its job. Night pulled the house tighter. I went back to OBITUAREX because that's what people do around edges. They return, just to make sure the drop is still there. New thread. Looking for Daniel Avery, 1969 to 2010. Cardiac arrest Evan here. If last night was a trick, fine. If it wasn't, please, I won't ask where you are. Just say you're okay. Typing dots blinked, stopped. The page refreshed itself. My post vanished. I tried again. Same blink, same refresh. Gone. Third time, a reply appeared. No avatar, no handle, no timestamp. Stop. I closed the tab like you close a door quietly when you think someone's sleeping behind it. Sleep didn't try hard to find me. At 3:18 a.m., my name arrived in the room the way it sounds when someone needs you awake. Evan. The headset clicked on the desk. I shouldn't have put it on. I did. White noise, wet around the edges. A breath close to a microphone. I told you not to ask, my father said. I won't, I whispered. I won't ask anything. A small breath, his deciding breath. I don't know if that matters. Are you okay? That isn't the right shape of the question. What is? Silence that wasn't. Under his voice, other words pressed like people behind frosted glass. Polite, waiting their turn. My fingers went cold. Pieces of me aren't mine, he said, as if he had to remind himself each syllable belonged to him. I can't feel where I end anymore. Dad, there are edges, he said. They use the edges. Who? The breath changed, as if he'd turned his head. It doesn't matter. You typed it. Typed what? You meant it. He stepped away from the microphone, no click, just distance, and the breathing in my ear wasn't his anymore. Same vowels, wrong rhythm. A soft voice, not voice, whispered with care, like reading from a placard. Find them. Speak. The line went flat. I sat with the headset in my hands until morning built itself from gray. At 9:30, I opened OBITUAREX again because edges don't stop existing when you turn your back. The banner, the bar, the warning, unchanged. Only the cursor blink felt eager. I typed Daniel Avery, nothing. Without knowing why, I typed even Avery. One result populated, my name, no end date. Looking for Evan Avery, 1995 to the present. Cause of death. It stopped on the colon, like a held breath. A message appeared live, letter by letter. Evan. Voice request flashed. Patient. I let the cursor hover over accept until my arm shook, and then I clicked. Evan. Not my dad. My mom. Soft. Careful. Like when she wasn't sure if I'd fallen asleep on the couch. Mom, I said, already standing before I knew I'd moved. A tiny delay then. Oh, God. Evan, if this is you, please stay. The headset made her sound closer than the room ever did. I turned toward the door out of habit, but the hall was empty, the strip of light thin and ordinary. Her voice wasn't out there. It was in here. Where are you? I asked. In my kitchen, she said, small and formal, like grief had taught her to sit up straight. I found a site. Someone sent it to me after the service. It said, find them, speak. She stopped to swallow. I typed your name. My mouth went dry. What did you type? Looking for Evan Avery, 1995 to the present, she said, reading her own words back like a prayer, then faltered. There was a space after the dash. I didn't know what to put. I glanced at the screen. OBITUAREX waited, patient as a nurse. On the thread with my name, the line still held its breath. Looking for Evan Avery, 1995. Cause of death. The cursor blinked, eager. Mom, I said, forcing my voice to be gentle. What service are you talking about? The headset picked up the sound of a chair leg on tile, the hush of a sleeve wiping a face. The memorial, she said. Saturday. She took a quick, apologetic breath. Your friends told such kind stories. They laughed. It was good to hear them laugh. I sat because standing made the floor feel like an opinion. I'm here, I said. I'm here, Mom. A small broken laugh. I know, she whispered. I know. For now. Mom. I don't have long, she said, voice tightening like a hand on a railing. The posts disappear. They said it would be like this, that if I meant it, I might get a minute. Who said that? A woman in the comments. Don't ask where, she wrote. Just say what you need while the window's open. She sniffed, composing herself. I wanted to say I'm sorry I wasn't there when... She stopped like the sentence had run out of road. I wanted to say I never once stopped being proud of you. I'm alive, I said, helpless and childish. I'm right here. Silence stretched, full of breathing and a distant refrigerator hum that wasn't mine. Then, honey, please don't do that. It makes it worse. The laptop chimed softly. On the thread with my name, a single word grew at the end of the cause of death line. Miss... I pressed my palm flat on the desk to keep it from lifting. Mom, what does your screen say? Exactly. I don't want to read it, she said. Please, Mom. A pause, a surrender. Paper rustled, or maybe it was her sleeve. Looking for Evan Avery, 1995 to 2025. Cause of death. Misalignment. The year sat in my chest. That's not real, I said. It's not. I'm here. I'm talking to you. I know, she said again, and I hated how gentle she sounded. That's why I came here. Mom, I said, I want to tell you something important. I know, she said, already crying, but trying to keep the sentence straight. Me too. Ready? I asked. Yes. I almost said I'm alive. I almost said this isn't real. I almost said nothing. What came out instead was what the body says when it knows words are only shapes. I love you. She made a sound that belongs to no medium. Air and grief and something like relief finally allowed to sit down. I love you more, she said. The laptop blinked. The line with my name filled itself in, neat as a tag sewn into a collar. Cause of death. Misalignment. Then the thread went flat. I waited until the house remembered how to breathe. I stayed on the floor, palms on my knees, fingers apart, until the pins and needles retreated from my feet. The thread with my name sat open on the screen. Misalignment glowed in a font that looked helpful. When I finally stood, I did it the way you do in a museum. Slow, careful, so you don't bump anything important. I thought about water. The kitchen was only 12 steps down the hall. At step 11, the doorway, something tugged at my heel. Not pain, just the feeling of a sticker's corner lifting. I stepped back. The tug let go. On the desk, OBITUAREX politely refreshed itself. My thread returned blank. No cause of death, no dates, just the caption. Looking for Evan Avery, 1995. Like it had been waiting to see which side of the doorway I chose. I tried to laugh and failed. I sat on the floor, palms, knees, fingers apart. This time I counted my breath because something else had started pacing them for me the last time, and I wanted the counting to be mine. The mirror kept itself out of the conversation until it didn't. I caught my reflection in the corner of my eye and, forgetting myself, looked up. For half a second it did nothing wrong, just a tired person on a tired floor. Then my reflection exhaled. First. OBITUAREX chimed as if I'd done something right. A new thread appeared at the top of the index, brief and cruel. Looking for Daniel Avery, 1969 to 2010. Last seen in comments. Last seen. Like you could lose someone twice on the same website. Something in me asked if I should click. Something more honest answered no so quickly, it felt like someone else had said it. I didn't open the thread. I don't know how long passed. Grief is a patient animal, but so is the thing that stands next to it and takes notes. By sunset, the world outside my blinds was the color of old peaches. The light softened edges on its own. I liked that. It felt like a kind decision the sun had made without knowing me. On the desk, my thread blinked. The line redrew itself without changing. Looking for Evan Avery, 1995. As if to remind me the sentence wasn't finished, and didn't need to be. I shut the laptop. Not because shutting helps. I left it on the desk like a sleeping animal you don't wake. The house held still, and then, seeing I meant it, agreed to hold still with me. I stood up and took the long way to the kitchen. I poured water and drank. I don't go on OBITUAREX anymore. Not because it would kill me. Misalignment, whatever it is, I don't want to know. And if you're asking what happens after that, I don't know if I'm alive, remembered, archived, or a collection of pieces, spare parts kept together by habit, waiting to learn whether I'm the picture or the peel. When reality glitches, do you cross or hold center? What do you think happened here? Where am I? Drop your theory. This was Midnight Horror Society, dark curiosity for sleep. Until your next midnight session, sleep well.